Welcome to Dr. Jalil Photography. Many of my YouTube viewers ask me how to do blurry background during macro photography. Today I'll be doing a practical demonstration for the beginners how to do a blurry background image for macro photography. Anyone doing photography, either macro photography or portrait or street photography, they would like to stand out the subject more than the surrounding background. No one wants a messy background. We basically want a blurry background against the subject so that our subject stand out in the total frame. How to do a blurry background image in macro photography and the principle remains same. I'll be demonstrating three different techniques of making blurry background during macro photography. The same principle applies to other photography as well, like portrait or street photography. I'll make three different episodes for making the blurry background. I will show step by step for making images. There are three ways. Number one, the gap between the subject and the background. The distance between the subject and the background. As the background goes far away, the background will be more blurry compared with the subject. Other point is the f-stop, the aperture value. As the aperture value increases, that means the opening reduces, the subject become more prominent compared with the background. Whenever we use a very low f-stop like 2.8 or 4, the depth of field is very shallow. That's the reason the subject will be focused and the background will be blurry or defocused. As we increase the aperture value, as we increase the f-stop, the depth of field increases and the background become more visible, more and more visible. So this is another way of making blurry background. Another is magnification. As we increase the magnification, the depth of field reduces. From 1:1 to 2:1, as we increase the magnification on the subject, the background become more and more blurry. So I'll be demonstrating all these three techniques for the beginners so that they can understand the mechanism and the techniques I use for macro photography on tabletop studio. The same principle applies to outdoor as well. In future I'll be making another episode how to create a blurry background in outdoor macro work. So let me start today the first episode on making a blurry background. I will start with the distance between the subject and the background. Let me start. Before I start, let me explain my gears. I'll be using Sony A7R3 camera with a Lava 90mm macro lens and Godox 350 flash, and you can see there is a radiant diffuser. This one is a DIY radiant diffuser. I made it myself. I'll give the link of this radiant diffuser making down in the description so that if you want to make yourself, you can watch my early videos on the making process of radiant diffuser. For subject, I'll be using a very nice tiny orange color flower as a subject for today's demonstration on background blurriness. The first technique is the gap between the subject and the background. You can see a big green color leaf. I'll be using this as a background for today's demonstration on the blurriness of background. I'll keep it here for a moment. I'll keep a distance of 3 inches from subject. First few shots I'll take at a 3-inch gap between the subject and the background. Let me take some pictures. As I mentioned earlier, the f-stop, the flash strength and the magnification, these are all variable. So right at this moment, I'll have to keep two parameters fixed. At this moment I will be At this moment I kept the magnification at 0.5 on my lower lens and f-stop at 8. I'll keep these two constant and I will vary the gap, the distance. In the first episode I'll keep the f-stop at 8 and the magnification on the lens 0.5 because this is a very big size flower. So these two parameters remain same. And now I'll start taking picture at 3-inch gap. Yes, the background is 3-inch behind the subject. Set the angle a little bit. Check the distance again. Yes, now it is fixed at 3-inch gap between the subject and the background. Let me take fine focusing. Let me check. Yes. At 3-inch gap, I can see clearly the green leaf and its very fine veins and everything is very visible. It is not blurry. Now I am going to increase the gap between the subject and the background to 6-inch. It is 6-inch. Now I'll take another shot at 6-inch gap. Yes, it is getting blurry. Now I'm going to increase the gap 10-inch. This is 10-inch. Now I'm going to increase the gap to 14-inch. You might have noticed I am not touching the camera anymore, I am not touching the subject anymore because these two parameters are fixed, the magnification and the subject and the lens gap remains same. I am also not changing the f-stop. Now it is a 20-inch gap. Now I'll further increase the gap to 24-inch. Now the gap from subject to green leaf 24-inch. So I'll take another shot at 24-inch. With a long gap, the subject is perfectly all right, but background is so blurry and it is almost black, it's very dark because at f8 the aperture is so small it cannot take enough light from the background to the sensor. So if you want a blurry background but with some little bit of original color or little bit of color of the background, you have to illuminate the background sufficiently so that it gives a blurry background but not black, not very dark. So what I'll do, I'll illuminate that background with 2 spotlights. At f8 and 24-inch gap from the subject to background, the background was very dark and black. Now I have illuminated the background with 2 spotlights and take few more shots. Now the background is blurry, but you can see some light from the background as well. You can see the color of the background as well. The important point is that you can have a farther background, but there should be some light to get some illumination to the sensor from the background. Otherwise it will come very dark background. That's all for today. I'll show you the picture one after another right now. upcoming videos, I'll be demonstrating the effect of aperture value. In another episode, I'll be showing the effect of magnification on the background blurriness. If you are interested to watch, if you are new in my channel, please subscribe, press the bell icon for my upcoming projects. Stay connected. Thank you for watching until the end. Bye bye.